From the classroom to today, we're reconnecting on the way, sharing stories, dreams, and paths, discovering the impact that lasts. The impact that lasts. The stories unfold, lives transform the future.
So over 20 years ago, I had the privilege of teaching high school students who were just beginning their journey. And today we are reconnecting to see where life has taken one of my former students and what lessons has stayed with her over all these years. So today I introduce to you Stephanie. Stephanie, how are you?
I am wonderful. I'm phenomenal.
You look phenomenal.
Thank you.
So Stephanie, how many years ago was it when I was your high school teacher?
Oh my goodness. It has to be somewhere around 20 something, 22, 23 years. Like, yeah,
It's been
long
a
time.
long time.
hmm
So I taught several classes. Did I teach you nursing, intro to nursing? What do you remember what I taught
So,
you?
of course, I remember. So, you taught me Med Surg 1 and 2. Both of the Med Surg classes, that was like your domain. You were
You
the
had
master.
double the trouble.
Yes. So that means I met you in senior year and not earlier.
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay, okay. All right. So what would you say you could remember about me in the classroom? What type of teacher was I back then?
Oh boy. I would say you were always very blunt and very honest. I think your communication was impeccable because I love clarity, and that's what you always gave. We knew the rules of the class. We knew what to do, what not to do. We just knew, and I think that was the best way. So that it's like nobody could play around. We were still goofy and so forth and so on, but you were just so clear about what the rules were, what the boundaries were. It was just like, okay, well, we all in here. We don't play games because we would play a lot of games with those nursing teachers. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a lot of shenanigans, and but with you, no, we didn't play that.
So, it's been a long time. So, if you had to look back to your 17-year-old self, what would you say to your 17-year-old self today?
Gosh, I would say like your path is perfect, something like that. Like your path is going to be perfect because and then also I would tell her that she's so protected and so divinely guided because looking over my life, every little thing that happened that led me even to that program was very divinely guided. Like I didn't have to research too much. I didn't have everything. I just knew that that was the path I was supposed to be on. So if my 17-year-old self kind of looked at that and realized like everything else is going to be aligned, I think I could have prevented a lot of frustration of being that younger self.
Okay. So, I know you've done a lot. So, tell me where you are now. I know you're a serial entrepreneur. I know you have a whole bunch of degrees. So, tell me where you are and what you're doing currently.
So currently, of course, I love my passion is with my businesses, but I love the bread and butter of a 9 to 5. So I'm so thankful for the contract work I'm doing. I'm currently a nursing practice consultant, is the affectionate title that I gave it, but it's really a cross between a nursing coach, nursing educator, and an executive auditor. So what I do is I go into several different hospitals, looking at the nurses and just making sure that they're sticking to the standard work, making sure that they are giving excellent patient care, and making sure that the unit is managed in a way that just flows nicely. So that's what I do now. I've been doing that for the last 4 years. So I came away from bedside somewhere around 2021, did some travel nursing, and that was where I landed. So I love that. It's a great gig because I get so much information about the current state of nurses and I get to see what a novice nurse is and what a veteran nurse is, and it's really interesting collecting the data and seeing how things run in the hospital setting.
But let's step back a little bit. Where'd you do your bachelor's? Where'd you do your master's? Where'd you do your NP? Where are you educationally now?
Yeah, so I'm at the master's level. I'm a family nurse practitioner board certified. And I really did that because I wanted to know the whole full spectrum of care. But if we take it back, and I'm going to include you in this story, I did most of my degrees online because after a teacher like you, I was very critical of every teacher. I did not want to sit in anybody's class if they weren't going to be as articulate as you, as clear as you, as creative as you. And I never found it, to be quite honest. So after I did my finished LPN in high school, of course, you do your prerequisites at a couple of community colleges. I tried to finish, and I hopped around, let's just say that. But once I got my associates from Helene Fold in Harlem, after that, I was done. I said, because the teachers, they're not really giving me what you was giving me. So I did Chamberlain, College of Nursing, BSN, and Chamberlain Masters. I stayed online, and I'm pretty sure I would continue to do that unless something changes with academia and the level of passion that instructors have. So that's pretty much how I did my schooling. It was a bumpy ride, but yeah, that's how I did it.
Some students after high school, I never heard from them again, but we have definitely been in touch all these years. Like, I remember you came to my 40th birthday party, which was many years ago. I remember that when we opened up the LPN school, you came and you taught med surg, and you were an amazing instructor. You actually did some teaching in college. Let's talk about your education piece, because I know you have a lot of different pieces to you. What did you gain from being a nurse educator with students? And is that something you would return to, or you just prefer your education to be on another level?
So I think that, and I got to give all credit to you, honestly, because I told you from a long time ago that I loved the way you taught, and it actually inspired me to want to teach. So even at that high school level, I was always the person that was in the group, you know, the tutoring. You know, we were at the library right on Jamaica Avenue, and I was helping everybody, and I had this insight about what she didn't understand or what he didn't understand. And I knew how to explain it to them in a certain way for them to understand. And it was so fun to me. I knew from then that I wanted to teach. So what I said, once you opened the school, I was like, I really want you to help me learn how to, you know, teach. And I just want to do it. It's really, really a passion. So basically, because you gave me that opportunity, I continue to be mainly in the lecture role, you know, anatomy and physiology, maternal, just all the things, nutrition, all the things. So I wasn't technically nurse educator, but more nursing instructor. Okay. So even when I taught at LIU, it was pathophysiology. You know what I mean? So it's always in front of the class. And by working at Transitions Career Institute, I was able to learn what I preferred because I did clinical as well. And I was in front of the class. And I really learned, like, clinical, no, thank you. No, thank you. It's too, you know, but I really felt like I was really able to make a better impact in the class. So every little job that I had kind of had that teaching, you know, that teaching part to it. So that's really what I'm just a teacher at heart. And the reason why I went with the FNP track is because, again, I wanted to know the whole spectrum of care so I could teach it. It was always about teaching for me, even to this day. Like, everything that I do is about teaching or making a difference in some type of way.
Tell me about Maternity Mentor, Sandra's system. What's that all about?
Yeah, so Maternity Mentor was birthed, I would say, around 2020. And most of my career is in maternal child health, postpartum, you know, floating to L&D, floating to NICU, stuff like that. I realized that this was a dream job. So I started out in telemetry med surg, 3 years, and I was able to transfer over to maternal child health postpartum. When I went there at Beth Israel, it was so beautiful. I loved it. I was like, wow, this is great. There was enough staffing and all the things. I was like, this is so fun. I get to teach. I get to show everything. I was just so happy. But then things changed. That hospital closed and we moved on to another hospital, which was very different, which the staffing wasn't great, which all these things. So what I realized is that I couldn't be the nurse that I wanted to be. I couldn't really make the impact that I wanted to because I was spending so much time charting for 8 patients, 4 to 6 couplets, up to 12. It was just ridiculous. And it started to break my heart. And I was like, I have to do something else. I have to figure out how I can prepare parents, families ahead of time. So I came up with the idea of Maternity Mentor. And what that is not just a training platform, but it's meant to be a platform to bring together certified professionals with the people who need them. So anybody within the birthing experience, not just the pregnant person, but also their partner, maybe their mother, maybe their sister. So all of the supportive people need to be informed and educated so they can support that person so that by the time they come in the hospital, they don't have such negative experiences. A lot of the negative experiences is due to a knowledge deficit. And unfortunately, nurses aren't doing a great job of teaching at the bedside because it's just so much task and so many things going on. You don't realize that your patient doesn't really know what's happening. And that's a huge detriment to their whole experience. And it's actually quite traumatic to go through something so vulnerable and not understand anything what's going on. So in the postpartum section, I was always explaining, oh, well, this is what happened in LD. This is why they did this. And so Maternity Mentor was just that dream of, you know what, if I can get them prepared before they come in, then maybe we can make a more positive experience, not just when they're birthing, but also how they parent. Also, their risk for depression and all of these things. So that's what Maternity Mentor is. I want to train the professionals, also lay persons too. And then I want to have a platform that joins them. So that's what Maternity Mentor is. It's going to join them and it's really going to level the playing field as far as all of these equity and disparity issues that we have. Of course, everybody probably knows.
So tell me about the Sandra system.
So Sandra system is my student baby, okay? So Sandra stands for Student of Nursing Diagnostics and Readiness Assessment. So during my teaching career, what I noticed is that I couldn't split myself in like a trillion people and have these meetings with every student and tell them what's their blind spot. So what happened is I would be on the weekends talking to students, going through questions, doing item analysis with them, and really, why did you choose this? Why didn't you choose that? And so after hundreds of students, I realized that I need to create something that is going to assess their blind spots ahead of time, right? Before they fail. Because I would, they would be like, oh, I didn't know I had to read like this, or I didn't know I had to study like this, or I didn't know that I should look out for these type of, wrong answer choices. And that's something that even I learned from you with Ready to Pass and everything like that. You kind of give all of those test tips. So I said, let me create some technology that the student can go on, do it themselves. It's going to assess them cognitively. It's going to assess them behaviorally. It's going to measure how much time they take per question. It's going to assess their stressors, obstacles, things that will get in the way of their academic success. So this whole technology, which is going to be, it can be web-based, but also app-based. So they probably sit for about 40 minutes and they will do they will just go through the whole comprehensive assessment and get their results and also kind of figure out the things that they need to pay attention to. And it's very customized. So that's my way of saying, I'm going to step back from the classroom, because the classroom that's a whole nother story. I don't agree with how students are being taught for this very technologically advanced generation. But if they're not going to change that, my thought process was, let me create something where I get to collect data about the students. And then maybe with all of that data, I can come back and be a consultant to these universities and to these college nursing programs to say, hey, this is the type of student population we're dealing with. Maybe you should think about, teaching them this or front facing that. And at the same time, students get, that feedback before they even fail. Because that's the thing. A lot of them would come to me when they're failing and say, where were you? But now with that Sandra comprehensive assessment, they'll be able to know what to do. Now, if they're going to do it or not, I don't know.
That's another story.
They might not do it, but they're going to have that. And I think that
have the option.
Yeah, the students will have this reassurance. Because a lot of students feel like, but they don't care about me. They only care about my money. They don't want to help me. So I'm thinking, and I'm knowing that once these universities take on the Sandra system for all of their nursing students across the US and globally,
yes,
period, okay, the students will feel like, wow, my school is really investing in my success and not setting me up for failure in such a way that I don't even know. I've been out of school for 10 years and now I'm here in this class and they're like, oh, you failed. Okay, just pay the $1,000 again. We'll let you take the course. That's how a lot of the students feel. So that is Sandra's system. So I'm so excited and I am not going to stop until this is literally in every nursing program all across the nation.
But one thing about you that I always remember was you was always super articulate from day one, and fearless will be the word I would use for you. So I remember we had a competition with HOSA, Health Occupation Students of America, and I had to determine which student would compete in which competition. And there was a category called extemporaneous speaking. And I said, Stephanie will be doing it. And you came in first place, right?
Yes, I got the gold medal. Okay. I was so happy. It was so fun. It was so natural. That's a core memory for me.
So you always had the gift of gab. So this is nothing new to you. So in addition to nursing, you've stepped out and you've been dipping and dabbling in different businesses. And there's a lot of nurses that want to leave the bedside, but they're probably afraid. What would you say to a nurse that's watching this, that's scared to step out on entrepreneurship, which we both have in many different aspects of it? What would you say to that nurse that was afraid to try entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I would say is you definitely want to have a foundation, right? So we're not jumping out the window here. We're not saying I'm leaving nursing and I'm doing this. No, you want to appreciate the foundation that you have in nursing. You want to appreciate how lucrative it is. And then you want to follow the signs. And what I mean by follow the signs is there are things that people tell you that you're good at. There are things that you love to do. You need to just follow the signs. And you want to go at your own pace, right? Because sometimes they might look at, oh my gosh, Dr. Savain, she has this, she has that. I want to do that too. But Dr. Savain has cultivated this over decades, right? So you need to just kind of, wear the shoe that fits you, do something small, and I love how with social media, you can really jump right into what you want to do and find people who are actually looking for you. So it's like, start small, follow the signs, and appreciate the job that you have. That's the thing that people get a little sketchy with because they're like, I want to get out of here. This is terrible. But you know what? That type of energy won't really lead, in my opinion, to your success where you want to be. You kind of got to have that gratitude is what I think.
I think that's great advice, and follow your passion, right? So your passion is maternity. You went into maternity. You're not going to try to do something in psych because your friend did it. So right. I think that's key information to stay in your own lane. And like you say, crawl before you walk, right? I'm a nurse almost 4 decades. You can't do what I do. I can't do what you do, right? So stick to what you're passionate about and take baby steps and know that everything takes time. So I think that's really important information. So in addition to you working as a nurse and doing your different businesses, what do you do for fun in general?
For fun, I would say it's 2 main things. First of all, I don't know, this might not be fun to a lot of people, but I love like all things spiritual, all things positive. So that is really something really important to me. I've gotten certifications in divine holistic health, and I've really leaned into my intuitive nature. And that just makes me so happy to feel just connected to my creator. And so that's like, if I'm watching YouTube, I am constantly just absorbing all of that information. That's fun to me. The other things that are fun to me is like anything like dancing. I love dancing. I love being active. And that's really just, inviting my body to move, just really inviting all of the senses in, seeing things, smelling things. I'm just very highly sensory. I love it. I don't really get a sensory overload. I know how to just look around and just appreciate everything. So I would say my hobbies is anything that's just like active and fun and daring and challenging. And of course, that spiritual side where I get to really hone in on the things that are unseen.
So let's say you did your associates, you did your bachelor's, you did your master's, you did your NP, you run in two businesses in the front, but I know you run in two businesses in the back as well,
Mm-hmm.
because you always got something on the back burner, right? So let's talk about challenges, right? Because a lot of times when people speak, we talk about, the glory, but people don't really know the story. So what would you say helps you to catapult in those moments when you hit a wall and you feel like, damn, like I'm stuck. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know if I should go to the right. I don't know if I should go to the left. What helps you to overcome in those tough moments?
You know what? I have been so blessed that things were made so clear to me. So even though things happened and I was like really upset, or I was saying, no, I want to do this and I'm pushing it, there were major obstacles that would come that would sit me down and say, this is not what's going to happen. I'm moving you over here. So I am just so appreciative to the divine guidance. Even I will tell you one story a lot of people don't know about me is that before I entered the nursing program, I don't know if I told you this, but I got arrested.
This is in
Listen,
high school?
yes, yes.
No,
I
you never told me that story.
Now listen, okay, single parent home, and my mother's always telling me no. I decided I was going to just steal my whole summer clothes, school clothes. I was just going to steal everything.
Boosted, boosted.
Do it right. Where all my boosters at? Yeah, she was right here. And I'm telling you, it lasted for a while. I got caught, right? I got caught in Yonkers, New York. Okay. And oh my gosh, it was so horrible. I went to the jail. I was in the bookings. And, my mother was like, you have the wrong child. Like, this is not my child. I was so good at hiding it. And when it came down to the court case, I had to send letters to say, like, I'm going on the right path. So I think I had to like get in touch with Miss Dunworth and be like, can you write a letter and tell them like I'm doing good? And it was so crazy because Miss Dunworth was like, I don't know your grades. I don't know. I can't really say if we're going to
Wow.
accept you. So I was like, please, I could do this. Please, So I wasn't even fully accepted into the nursing program. But I believe Miss Dunworth, I believe she wrote like a character letter to say like, let this girl go. She's just a little misguided. She got some problems.
She got thrown off a little bit.
But she's going to be okay. And I'm telling you, it was those letters that allowed them to scrub my, record and just pay a fine. And after that, I was focused.
Straight as an arrow. Straight as an
You see
arrow.
what I'm saying? So it was always little things like that. That's like, you have these two paths, and something would wake me up to be like, no, you better get together, or you could go down a very lonely road. So it was things like that that would happen to me. And so what I feel, my faith in God and the direction is just so overwhelming for every single stage of my life. It's been made very clear that I have a large purpose, and that even if I wanted to go the wrong way, something's going to shock me, and I'll be right back on the right path. And I feel like that's how my life has gone. Things have disappointed me and things have challenged me, but I always stick to the fact that, I have a purpose, and I'm going to serve and help so many people that kind of became my motivation and my inspiration. So
Thank you for sharing that story. I definitely didn't know about that, but stories like that are very important because a lot of times people see us as professionals, but they don't know that we had to overcome a lot of different hurdles to get where we are today. So I like to sometimes show the other side that people don't necessarily know about, which I didn't even know that story. Thank you for
Yeah. And
sharing.
that's what I was thinking. I said, you know what? I'm gonna tell on myself today. Yeah.
So you are bright, you are smart, you are articulate. I am grateful to have met you all those many years ago and for us to still be able to keep in touch all these many years later. If you had to say anything to anybody that's watching right now and leave them with words of wisdom, what would you say?
I would say everybody always says, be yourself. But the truth is, you will never know who yourself is. You are always going to be evolving. And if you could just try to do one thing, is just to be as congruent as you can. Whoever you want to be for that moment, make sure that your actions represent your words. Make sure that you have as much integrity and honesty as you can. And I feel like that's something that's going to take you far because you can only be as ready as you are. So whoever you are in the moment, try to be that person. And just know that you'll continue to learn. There'll be some challenges, but just know that you're always going to evolve. You're always going to change, and there always will be a better version of you. And just to have grace with yourself, because that's something I tell myself all the time. Like I'm hard on myself because I'm just like,
I'm
gotta do
going to
it.
take that. That's just who we are, right? Because I will
Yeah,
beat myself up in a minute. So I think all of us need to learn how to
yeah,
have a little bit of grace, and we will evolve into whoever we were supposed to be, even though we may hit some bumps in the road.
yes.
So, Stephanie, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. You are just bright, smart, articulate, blooming, growing, and I'm just so excited that our paths have crossed many years ago and that we're still in touch today. So, a teacher touches a life for a moment, but that impact can last for a lifetime. Thank you so much for watching The Impact That Lasts with Miss Stephanie.